Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mosquito Control and Yum Brands broadcast today. We're happy to have you joining us. I'm Nadine, and I'll be your co-host throughout this broadcast session. So I'd like to first go over some guidelines and best practices while you're joining us today. So remember, safety is a huge priority for Orkin, so we trust that you're exhibiting safe behaviors while you're attending this broadcast. Any questions you might have during this broadcast, please pop them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get them answered after this session is through. So during this session, your mic will be on mute, and this session will run about 45 minutes. Okay, so let's get started. So I do have a special guest today, and I will have her introduce herself. She's in the commercial division. She's our division sales manager of the West Coast. And so, Dawn, I want to welcome you. If you can just tell us a little bit about your background.
Hi, I'm Dawn Aguayo. I've been with Orkin, since I've been 12. Actually, I started with Orkin in 1999. I started as a technician. I've held various positions within the company, all the way from service to national accounts to sales, and here I am today. I get to harass you all about scent services and talk about our upcoming campaigns.
Nice. Okay, so you're going to share with us how the campaign's going so far. So she's going to share some performers that have been doing pretty well with the scent services. So I'll go ahead and give that to you.
Oh, absolutely. And I would say I'd like to first thank you all for embracing the campaign mindset and to going full force into the scent services campaign. We truly, truly appreciate it. When you look at our numbers, we're actually 989% over last year. We're currently at about $150,000 in total sales in just the last, 50 days or so, 45, 50 days, because we know that they're not all in there. We know we've got more. And when you look at that at 150,000, imagine what we're gonna do by the end of the year. I was talking to Hamlet earlier, and I'm like, we could probably easily hit $1 million in scent services. So yeah, this is just the beginning. But some of our top performers so far with the campaign, we have Aaron, Joshua, and Christopher, our top 3 account managers in the division, all 3 earning the $250 division gift cards. We have the 3 branches that are leading the pack. We have Triad Commercial, Palm Beach, and Columbus Commercial. And the top 3 regions are Southern Commercial, South Central Commercial, and Midwest Commercial. As I said, this is just the beginning. We're about to have some fun.
Sounds like a good time. Good job, everybody, so far. That's participated, and you're getting your numbers up there. So good stuff. All right, thank you, Don. So let's get started. Let's start talking about commercial mosquito control and how we can help protect people and the businesses that we serve every day. I want to go over the agenda real briefly. During this session, we're going to talk about the mosquito programs, the 2 different programs, Traditional and Orkin Eclipse. We'll kind of debrief over features and benefits, go over some pricing, and then how to develop your sales strategy, be innovative with it. And then lastly, we'll tie it up with the toolkit. So let's go. Let's get ready. So I have a second special guest that I'm going to introduce. Well, I'm going to have him introduce himself, Hamlet. If you can tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Hamlet Bayesa. I am from the Pacific region, the West Coast, specifically the San Fernando, Greater Los Angeles area. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right. So I'm going to pass it on over to you so you can talk about the 2 different mosquito programs that we offer.
Yeah, well, this is exciting because mosquitoes have now become almost a year-round pest, where initially they were only seasonal. So we have the ability now to sell them year-round, which is great. We offer 2 types, really, and one is the traditional service, which involves a chemical application to vegetation, which is like a knockdown. And the other one is the Eclipse mosquito trap that you can incorporate as well. They both have different features and benefits. When tied together, it's really a winning combination. But to talk a little bit about the features and benefits, the features for the traditional program is that you can get immediate relief. You can immediately see reduction in mosquito, the knockdown. Whereas the Eclipse, it's more of a staggered but ongoing solution. And again, it's environmentally conscious. it's non-toxic, and it's well received.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about your strategy out in the field when you're selling Mosquito. So I have a few questions. The first one, can you talk about your experience offering the Mosquito program to our businesses?
Yes, my experience has been great. Mosquito add-on is a very lucrative service that you can tack on to your sales arsenal. And also, it's very well received. It appears that now people are more and more are learning about the human impact that these mosquitoes have. But in order to maximize on those sales dollars, I really, really recommend that all my peers get started early. Let me give you an example. Going with your Orkin Pros, that's going to really, really help. Our top producer, his name is Hernan from the West Coast. He told me, I said, Hernan, what are you doing? What's the secret sauce? And he says, none really. I just went with my Orkin Pros and we saturated the entire route. Well, in doing so, Nadine, he sold almost $80,000.
Wow.
That's huge. So it's incredibly lucrative.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You really went out there and got it. So the second question I have for you, what guidance can you offer your peers out in the field on how to target the different businesses for Mosquito?
When I think about the different businesses that are good for mosquitoes, a lot of them come to mind. But top of the list, I've got to say healthcare, hospitals. It appears like they are very, very well aware of the human impact that they have and their vectors for maybe transmitting diseases. So they want to do everything possible to protect their workers. To give you an example, I manage 5 hospital systems in LA, and all of them have recurring mosquito service, whether it be seasonal or year-round. Aside from hospitals, we have skilled nursing, we have assisted living, and all of these places or these locations are very similar in that they have patios, they have conducive conditions for mosquitoes to thrive. So I would put that at top of list. Then I can also think about schools. Schools at any grade level. I'm thinking what comes to mind right now are daycares. They're all about protecting the kids when they're out in the yards. So I find it very easy to talk to them about mosquitoes, and they're very receptive. Another industry that comes to mind are anything that has an outdoor venue, whether it be for dining, whether it be for some sort of venue. Hotels come to mind. They have these types of settings, and they're all about protecting their customers, right? And then I also see calls for warehouses. They have their dock doors open, therefore mosquitoes fly in, and when the conditions are right, we can really help them out.
That's great. That is great. So what's your experience on price objection? How do you overcome any price objection that you might have experienced selling the program?
I like to think that my great inspection and then my deep dive in the proposal with a very specific scope eliminates that. But when customers do have a price objection, I like to get personal with them. I like to talk about about protecting their assets, which are their customers, their employees, sometimes their pets, and preventing disease. I find that when you talk to them personally, their barriers come down. So it really helps. Also with pricing, we don't have a one program fits all. We can definitely tailor a custom solution to find out what's going to fit. If you're able to find out if they have a budget for an emergency program, find out what that is so you don't price yourself out of the sale.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you're out there. Normally we're out there proposing GPC.
Yeah.
How are you pivoting or layering in that Mosquito program?
Well, I know I'm about to say something that most of you are going to laugh at me. I'm come from the West Coast, and we have heavy rainfall for the last 3 days. But guess what? The heavy rainfall is going to bring a slew of mosquitoes. I tell my customers that they're coming with the vengeance, because that's what they normally do. So I talk about the current conditions, and all this wet weather is going to bring those mosquitoes. So let's have those conversations now early. Also, I draw analogies from last year and the last season when they jumped on the mosquito way too late and what their employees had to suffer. So let's get on it early. Let's attack it early. So that's the way I pivot. Yeah. I use the conditions that are around.
I like that. You don't sell what you don't propose, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Firm believer of that.
So what's been your experience of competition in the field?
You know, there are a few out there when I'm doing my inspections, but their eclipses are never labeled, so I don't know who they belong with or to. But really, I don't really trouble myself with the competition. I believe that my service is far superior because when the conditions are right, when you have vegetation, you have shade, and you have standing water, I like to throw out my three-pronged approach. And what the three-pronged approach is misting the vegetation for an immediate knockdown and relief, adding the eclipse buckets to come at them at a biological, way, and also, if possible, I like to use larvicides to treat the larvae so that they don't mature. Now, you got to check with your branch, with your local and federal regulations on using that, but that's the three-pronged approach that we are going to come at them at every angle.
I like it. I like it. Good resources there. Okay, last thing. What would you challenge your peers, the other account managers watching this video, how would you challenge them to embrace offering Mosquito?
I'm glad you asked. Several ways. Propose now, inspect now. Let's get out there early. If you allow what I did a few seasons ago, and that is wait until mosquito calls came to you, guess what happened to me? I lost a lot of sales dollars early on. Don't allow that to happen because you can jump on it now. Start getting with your Orkin pros. They are the best vehicle that will drive for current customers, but also for new customers. Talk about those conditions, those those conditions. Get out there and ask them to do the inspection now so that when the mosquitoes do come and attack, you just flip the switch and turn them on. Also, use our marketing team. Rollins One has a great toolkit. They have email samples, they have proposals, they have one-sheets that tell everything about mosquitoes. If you want some talking points, that's really great. Another real valuable one, and please write this one down, at your branch, run a report of odd jobs that were sold between July and October. Those are low-hanging fruit because they can take advantage now of the recurring program. And lastly, you got to talk about it, at least to raise awareness. So that's what I would challenge my peers.
I love it. You have to talk about it. You heard the man. You heard him. So Hamlet, thanks for sharing. Those are great best practices. Hopefully you guys took a lot of takeaways from that. And if not, call him. You can find him on Teams. You can find his email, Rollins One. You can find him. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Hamlet.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk real quickly. I'm gonna have Dawn present this, but we want to talk about the top performers for 2023 when it came to mosquito sales. Dawn?
Thank you. Yes, last year we did an amazing job with commercial mosquito. And I can only imagine what this year is going to bring. Just to add a little bit of what Hamlet said, all of those things are great. But if you just bundle mosquito with every single proposal, just every single one, we're going to get to our goal. Last year, we did a phenomenal job in mosquito. And just by looking at the numbers, you'll be able to see exactly what we did last year and who your top performers are that y'all are going to want to beat. And our top performers, Hamlet actually talked a little bit about Hernan. And Hernan, when I was with them at their kickoff meeting just a couple weeks ago, I'm thinking he's looking at 160,000 in mosquito. Could you imagine if we all did 160,000? Like, holy goodness. You got Nathan in at 70,000 and Sonny just about 50. And then we have our Orkin pros. We have David in with a little bit over 43,000, Lawrence 31,000, and Matthew just at about 20,000. Bringing in the regions, we've got Pacific Commercial Region at $646,000, followed by South Central at $266,000, and you have Southern Commercial at $221,000. I can only imagine what we're going to do this year. I feel as if this is going to be one of the best mosquito years ever.
I think so too. Remember, you got to go out there and talk about it. Got to go out there and propose it. You can't sell what you don't propose.
Absolutely, and bundling it in every single proposal.
Right.
Like every single proposal. We just
Right.
need to get it in there. It's taking care of our customers.
Love it, love it. And good job to those 2023 top performers and the regions and divisions. Okay, so we're going to roll into 3 quick videos of some peers of yours out in the field, and they're going to just share what's worked for them and their successes. So stay with us, and here we go.
Hi, my name is Alain Alvarez, and I'm a senior account manager at branch 673, Miami Commercial. I'm pleased to speak with you today about a sales experience that I had offering our mosquito control services. This proposal was for a construction company building a water treatment facility on the southeast coast of Florida, which has a lot of inlets and bays. As we all know, this is the perfect habitat for mosquitoes to breed and thrive in. By using the Into Care demo video on Orkin's YouTube page, I was able to show the customer what the product looks like, how it works, and how easy it would be to set up. By using MeasureMap Pro to calculate size, and by visiting intocare.org with the customer to show him how many units per acre would be needed, we were able to determine that 50 units would be needed in order to control and reduce the population. After gaining the customer's trust, I was able to bundle this service with our traditional mosquito control program, securing an $8,000 odd job sale for the branch. A month later, we were able to sell them recurring PC, which is still up and running today. My biggest takeaway with this experience was being able to use the tools at our disposal to wow the customer and educate them using data and knowledge. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brian Sellers. I'm with Branch 450 Silicon Valley in the San Francisco Bay Area. One of our successes last year with the mosquito program, I partnered with my Orkin Pro, Ray, who's just an awesome technician, for the Alameda County Office of Education. And again, they were getting bit inside and outside. He referred me over to them. I spoke with them. We created a fantastic program, and I'm expecting their PO anytime soon for about $5,000 again for this campaign. So working with the Orkin Pros, it's the only way to go.
Hi, I'm Raymond from Branch Silicon Valley, Branch 450. I've been here working for going 17 years, and I know Brian for 15 years already, maybe ish. So anyway, the reason why we got some sales last year with regard with mosquito, of course, communication with the customer. It has to be two sides of the road. So as soon as I found out there's some conducive area on the areas for the customers, I'm gonna talk to the customer, explain what are the consequences of having a mosquito in the area, then provide a structural defense on the customer area, perimeter area. Then on our end, of course, the pest control treatment. So on that side, I'm going to call Brian and explain to him what are the pros and cons of the area. So yeah, Brian is really helpful. Since then, we've been tagging along with the customers. Whenever I had some prospect, I'm immediately reminding Brian. Some customer that needs to leave, need to move to other location, I always call Brian and remind him. But anyway, so yeah, that's all for Brian. He's a good guy, my guy.
Okay, well, you've heard it from 3 different peers in the field about how they're succeeding in mosquitoes. So hopefully you're ready to go out there and chase this. Okay, so I'm going to turn this back over to Dawn because she's going to walk you through on where to find the toolkit and how to use it to your advantage in the field.
Thank you, Ms. Nadine. So there's a couple of ways to find the toolkit. One, you can grab your phone and you go to Rollins One. Once you pass TSA, you can then just search mosquito at the top and the mosquito toolbox will pop up. Or you can go in to Rollins One, you select commercial right there at the top corner there, and then go in from commercial and go into the service toolkits at the top menu bar, and then there will be a little mosquito icon. And housed within that toolkit, you're going to find everything you need to propose and bundle mosquito into every single proposal, right? So at the top portion of that toolkit, you're going to have some educational material for you. You're going to have some recordings. You're going to have some talking points for you with your customers. You also, at the bottom left-hand corner, have some point-of-sales material that you can use when you're out in the field prospecting. I would highly encourage you to print them in color. Make sure that they're on a nice quality paper, just because you're going to be handing them to the customer. And then you have everything that you need to actually propose as far as rate, the actual documentation. Everything you need is in this toolkit. So we could all have a very successful mosquito season.
So excited. Are you guys ready? Dawn and Hamlet, thank you for joining us today. This was fun. So I'm gonna put a challenge out there. We are gonna put a challenge out there. So one of the 2024 goals for, built for growth targets was to grow our commercial mosquito penetration by 5% in all commercial. So that's your challenge. Can you guys help us get there? I think you can, right?
We're going to get there.
Oh,
we
yeah.
got this.
So we need
got
you to
this.
do this. So 5% penetration for commercial business on mosquito programs. So let's go out there and get it. So again, thank you both. I appreciate you being here. Stay with me because we're going to jump into our next portion on Yum brands and get you prepped for that. So welcome to the National Accounts Spotlight portion of our broadcast. Today we're going to focus on the Yum brand session. So my first guest I'm going to introduce is Dave. Dave, welcome. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Nadine. My name is Dave Gore. I'm a national account manager. I've been with Orkin just a little under 19 years, and I'm based in California. We also have a special guest, one of our Orkin superstars, Anthony.
I'm Anthony. I'm based out of Detroit, Michigan. I'm a commercial account manager. Been with Orkin for a little under 3 years.
And I think 2 full years and 2 President's Clubs, correct?
Correct.
And how much in those 2 years?
In 2 years, I've sold 1.4 million.
Wow, excellent job, Anthony. And thank you so much for being here. Let's talk a little bit about Yum. Very excited that this is the first Orkin Spotlight this year for March and April. Many of you are familiar with these brands, but they have over 54,000 restaurants in over 155 countries. KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and they recently added the Habit Burger. We're going to get into some different selling techniques, but a couple of things you want to think about when you approach these. 1, approach them as complimentary inspections. 2, you're always going to ask if they're part of a franchise group. And 3, the pricing and resources tool in the toolkit on Rollins One, and we'll definitely get more into that. So Anthony, let's talk a little bit about the account that you actually got. Can you tell me a little bit how the dialogue started with this account?
So we ended up receiving a lead for one KFC that was having some rodent issues. As a result, I noticed right away that this was part of Yum Brands, which is a national account. So that prompted me to go into Rollins One and look at the toolkit and pull out the scope of service and become extremely familiar with all aspects of the scope of service. Now, for these accounts in particular, if you look at the last couple pages of the scope of service, there's a lot on escalation protocol. So that told me that this account values audits, very highly. As far as there's potential for, if an account does not do well as far as pest control goes, their store could be shut down.
That's absolutely right. Yum has very strict protocols, and one of the great things about that is it's very specific, correct?
Correct.
So when you're looking at that toolkit and you're finding out what the needs of that customer are, there's specific numbers of devices that they should have, and it makes it very easy for you to go in during your inspection and see if they're in compliance.
Right. And as far as compliance goes, after I'd reviewed the scope of service and I went to the account, I identified exactly what Dave Gore said. There weren't enough tin cats. There wasn't a recent service report. There wasn't a functioning fly light. And not only did they have rat burrows in the exterior of the building, but they also had mouse issues.
Now, this one happened to be part of a larger franchise you found out, correct?
Correct.
And can you talk a little bit about that? So
this was part of 90 locations, and I found that out by talking with the manager and basically saying, like, this is beyond just a rodent issue. This is a compliance issue, and I want to help. So I found out that it was part of a franchise group that were tied to 10 other locations under this specific area manager's responsibility.
Yeah, and that particular group works as store manager, area manager, regional vice president, correct?
Correct.
And one thing you'll find about Yum is you'll find that there's many different variations from a single owner to these groups that have over 400 or 500 locations. So you did a little bit of investigation. Once you got to that point, Anthony, what was the next point of action?
So after I did the investigation, I reached out to the regional vice president, who was my point of contact, and I started talking with her about what her other concerns were regarding pest control. She told me that she felt that there was not somebody that she could rely on to communicate with if she ever had issues, or somebody reaching out to her on a regular basis, providing tips, or being a good business partner.
Okay, so she really wanted more interaction with her pest provider.
Correct.
Okay, so what was the next step?
So the next step was getting this regional manager and her area coaches on a conference call to basically present what we had to offer. So I took pieces of the sales deck from Rollins One. I took pieces of the scope of service that I thought were seriously important, and then a significant amount of information on Orkin Insight, and put that together into a presentation. And I thought that it was seriously important to get the area coaches on that call, because I know that a lot of the complaints came from them to begin with their existing provider.
That's another great point, Anthony. Oftentimes we find out who the decision maker is, and we spend a lot of time dealing with them, which we should. But the people that are going to be dealing with this day to day, the area coaches, it's extremely important that we keep them involved, because they maybe have a decision that's forced upon them. And if that happens, we know that it's going to be very challenging for our Orkin pros to do their job if they're not welcome in that facility, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Let's take a step back. Can you tell me kind of what you did on the process before you went out to see this customer?
So like I said, I saw that it was a national account that had called. I noticed that right away, and that's a best practice, I would say, whenever you get a national account lead, is make sure you familiarize yourself with the scope of service.
And where do you find that at?
Rollins One.
That's right.
You find that at Rollins One.
We'll probably say that a lot today, Rollins One and Toolkit, because that is a wealth of knowledge, especially for you people who are new here. Everything you need to know about this account was in there, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and you went the extra step. You went to the end of it and talked about the escalation protocols, because those are so important on this particular account.
Yes, it is. And it also, if you're looking to acquire these accounts, if you understand the escalation protocol and you read through the scope of service, you're going to feel very confident going into it.
And you're really talking more their language, correct? Because when you talk to these customers, and I know when we talk to them at a corporate level, it's all about those audits, and it's all about the compliance, and that's kind of their language. So now you're not just happen to be a salesperson walking in the door, but you're really a partner.
Right. And so my preparation really just involved applying my own thing to it, but also understanding that scope of service and being open with the customer to discuss the certain aspects of the scope of service that we follow that I think sets us apart from the competitor.
Well, that's great. Were there any challenges or objections on this particular one that you had to overcome? I know at the end of the day you got the sale, and that's terrific, but what were some of the challenges and objections along the way?
So the challenges, I'll start with the challenges. When I got everybody on the call, the area managers and the regional vice president, there were a lot of questions towards the end regarding QA, so regarding the escalation protocols. And while I felt that I knew everything that I needed to know about the escalation protocols, there were parts of it that I didn't really know. And that's where I think it's really important to involve national accounts in general.
Yeah, and you did a great job at that, Anthony. That's where you got myself involved, and Clayton Grove, who is the QA manager for Yum and does a fantastic job. There's really not a day that goes by that we don't have something to do with QA, and Clayton and I have those discussions. But we got a call together, and we were able to have Clayton come on that call and kind of lead it really only from that section, because you had done such a great job on the sales piece, but that QA piece was the missing piece that we really need to have conversations with their corporate about, right?
Right. It was nice that we were actually able to dedicate a call just to the QA piece.
And they specifically said how much they enjoyed that, correct?
Yes.
I think one of the things, Anthony, is we all want to do everything, and sometimes we have to take a step back and use our partners. Right? We have partners. We have a QA department. So make sure that when you go through these processes, regardless what national account it might be, get with that national account manager, and we can make sure that we have the proper people on all of those calls. Again, a great job on this one. Is there a best practice? Because you've done a great job of maintaining a relationship with this customer. I think oftentimes we get a sale, and then we kind of turn it over to the Orkin pros. But you've stayed very involved in this. Can you walk me through that?
So what I've done, I mean, it started with how I wanted this relationship to go, and that was fully embracing, having the customer fully embrace Orkin Insight so they can be in tune with what we're doing on a site level. And understanding that those service reports aren't just going to talk about pest control issues. They're going to talk about structural deficiencies. They're going to talk about sanitation issues, all of which do lead to pest control issues if we're not compliant in that area.
That's a great point, Anthony. And I can tell you that there's not a call we have on with corporate level teams that they don't mention that they want us to be their partner. Many of these times we're their eyes and ears, right? So sanitation issues, structural issues, we need to make sure that we're working with our Orkin pros to make sure they're putting those things in there. The other thing that does is gives you an opportunity to sell more. Can you walk us through a little of that?
So, and that is what ended up happening is I've actually accessed a lot of the service reports. I regularly review them and identify if there's anything that's worth mentioning. Hey, maybe we need to increase the service frequency in this account. Maybe we should be doing a rodent repellent service on the outside. I can make these recommendations because our Orkin pros do such a great job at identifying these issues at each account.
So you personally go through and look at service, the service things from on the accounts that you've sold.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And especially this account, because like I've said before, they cannot afford to fail an audit. So being in tune with what pest issues they're having, I think is seriously important when it comes to a retention standpoint.
So reviewing those service tickets has really paid off for you.
It has, and it has so much so that within the last 30 days, if you take any of the extra services that have been completed, along with service frequency increases, I've sold in excess of $14,000 in 30 days just by growing this account.
On this particular account?
On this particular account.
So that account that you got a call for just a rodent issue has generated about $65,000 roughly in revenue this year?
$65,000 in 12 months, and counting.
Wow.
We actually have another 50 that we're working on now.
Wow.
So with the same customer.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there something that you would challenge other account managers? There's a lot of them watching who probably have never sold a Yum account or never walked into one. What would you say to them?
So this is what I would say. This is my advice. Go to Rollins One, access the toolkit, go and look at the scope of service and fully familiarize yourself with it, especially the escalation protocols. That way you'll be able to speak their language. What I then suggest is going into the account, physically going to the location. I wouldn't make a phone call, I wouldn't send an email. Physically go to the location and offer a complimentary inspection to ensure that they're in compliance as far as pest control goes. So that way they can pass their audit.
I think that's great. And I think sometimes we overthink this.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter is it's important to physically go out there. And very few customers won't allow you to do a complimentary inspection, especially if they think there's something in it for them. If you mention, hey, let me take a look to see if you're in compliance of your audit, I don't think you're going to get too many no's, correct?
Correct. No issues with that. And the other, I would say, very important question to ask, and this is going to give you the roadmap as to identifying who your decision maker is ask them, are you part of a franchise? Because if they are, that means they have more than one location. But even if they're part of a franchise and they have 5 to 10 locations, that site manager may be responsible for their own pest control and can make a decision on the site.
That's a great point. So I get asked this question a lot. Well, who do I talk to? It depends, right? We have franchises that own 1, and then we have franchises that have 2,000 locations. So obviously, the larger the amount, the bigger infrastructure they're going to have. But it's important to ask that question up front so you know how to approach it.
Correct.
Anthony, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. With the amount that you're selling, I know 2 days out of the field is tough to do, but I think this is going to be beneficial for many of our account managers out there. So we really, really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
And for everybody else out there, this is a great opportunity to engage in the Yum program. There's a number of locations almost in everybody's area, right? These aren't specific to any one area. So I would encourage you to get on Rollins One, go through that toolkit, and really familiarize yourself with the account. And I'd also like to offer some help in getting there. Don?
Did you say 1.4 million?
1.4 million.
Oh my gosh, 1.4 million. Can you believe 1.4 million? Rollins One, right? They said Rollins One multiple times. So you go to the commercial tab in Rollins One. You click on the new sales opportunity, which is Yum Brands. And then you click on the Yum Brands toolkit. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes today's broadcast. And I hope all the information that we shared was super, super helpful and informational for you. I'm going to leave you with a few things. Use the toolkit. The toolkits are there to help you with everything you need. And I encourage you to be curious, and I need you to break it. Like, break it, break it. If we're breaking it, the marketing team will actually love us, because breaking it means that we're using it. So break it. Please break it. Also, if you don't propose it, you can't sell it. So please get out there, propose it. Propose it and then just sell. Just sell, sell, sell. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, 5% mosquito penetration. Are y'all with me? Who's with me? Are you guys with me?
We're with you.
We're with you.
And some Yum sales.
And some Yum sales. Yep, absolutely. 1.4 million. Just saying. But thank you all very much for your time today. We appreciate you. Stay safe and happy hunting.